Evaluating internal controls and assessing control risk is a critical aspect of the audit process, as it helps auditors determine the extent to which they can rely on the organization's internal controls to prevent or detect material misstatements in the financial statements. Here's how to evaluate internal controls and assess control risk effectively. Understand internal control framework. Familiarize yourself with the organization's internal control framework, such as COSO, Committee of Sponsoring Organizations of the Treadway Commission, or COBIT, Control Objectives for Information and Related Technologies. Understand the key components of internal control, including control environment, risk assessment, control activities, information and communication, and monitoring activities. Identify key controls. Identify key controls that are relevant to the audit objectives, financial statement assertions, and significant business processes. Focus on controls that are designed to mitigate risks related to financial reporting, safeguarding of assets, and compliance with laws and regulations. Document control activities. Document control activities, policies, procedures, and processes implemented by management to mitigate risks and achieve control objectives. Review documentation such as control narratives, flowcharts, process maps, policies, and manuals to understand the design and operation of internal controls. Perform walkthroughs. Perform walkthroughs of key control processes to understand how controls are designed and operating in practice. Trace the flow of transactions through the control environment and observe control activities in action to assess effectiveness and compliance. Evaluate control design. Evaluate the design of internal controls to assess whether they are properly designed to achieve control objectives and mitigate identified risks. Consider factors such as control appropriateness, completeness, effectiveness, and alignment with control objectives and organizational goals. Test control effectiveness. Test the operating effectiveness of key controls to determine whether they are operating as designed and achieving their intended objectives. Perform control testing procedures, such as inquiry, observation, inspection, reperformance, and documentation review, to gather evidence on control performance. Assess control risk. Assess control risk based on the results of control evaluations and testing activities. Determine the extent to which reliance can be placed on internal controls to prevent or detect material misstatements in the financial statements. Consider control environment. Consider the overall control environment, including management's integrity, ethical values, oversight responsibilities, and commitment to internal control effectiveness. Evaluate the tone at the top and the organization's culture of compliance, accountability, and risk management. Document control assessments. Document control assessments, including the identification of key controls, evaluation of control design and effectiveness, and conclusions regarding control risk. Maintain clear and concise documentation of control assessments for review by auditors, management, and regulatory authorities. Communicate findings and recommendations. Communicate findings, observations, and recommendations regarding internal control deficiencies, weaknesses, or gaps to management and relevant stakeholders. Provide actionable recommendations for improving internal controls, enhancing control effectiveness, and mitigating identified risks. By evaluating internal controls and assessing control risk systematically and comprehensively, auditors can gain assurance about the reliability of the organization's internal control environment and make informed decisions about the extent of audit procedures needed to achieve audit objectives.